I never thought I would find myself questioning the man I had spent so many years with. For so long, I thought we were solid, built on trust and love. We'd been together for nearly a decade, long enough to build a life, a family, a future. Mark and I had always communicated openly about everything, or so I thought. But that all started to change one ordinary afternoon, and everything I thought I knew about him began to unravel. It all started with a simple search. Mark and I had been planning a family trip for the summer, something we'd been excited about for months. We had been saving up, coordinating schedules, and talking about what we'd do once we got there. A few weeks before we were supposed to leave, I needed to check something about the flight details. So I went into our shared email account, the one we use for all of our family finances, travel plans, and personal matters, to pull up the confirmation. What I found instead was a trail of emails that weren't meant for me. They weren't from family members, old friends, or work associates. They weren't even travel-related. They were from someone named Sophia Alvarez, someone I had never heard of before, and they were about travel plans, secret travel plans. As I read through the emails, my heart dropped. Mark had made arrangements to leave the country alone, a trip to Paris, with an itinerary I wasn't included on. There were emails discussing visa applications, a second passport, one that I didn't know existed, hotel bookings, and plans to meet Sophia there. It wasn't just a weekend getaway. It was something much more intricate, something that involved careful planning. There was even a specific date set, just a few weeks before our planned family vacation. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe these emails were about work. Maybe it was all just some sort of misunderstanding, or perhaps he had been talking about a trip he had planned years ago. But no matter how many times I reread the emails, the realization kept sinking deeper. Mark had a secret life that I knew nothing about. The truth hit me like a brick wall. I had never once suspected that Mark would do something like this. He had always been reliable, loving, and committed to our family. We'd had our disagreements, sure, but nothing that would make me think he was capable of such deception. And yet, here I was, holding these emails in my hands, realizing that the man I had trusted more than anyone else had kept something huge from me. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? Why had he kept it from me? Who was Sophia Alvarez? And why had she been included in plans that should have involved me? Why hadn't he told me about the second visa? What was he doing in Paris that required so much secrecy? I had no answers, just more and more questions, each one leading to another. I couldn't sit with these questions, not without some kind of explanation. But how could I even bring it up to him? How could I confront the man I thought I knew so well without shaking the foundation of everything we had built? Could I even trust him anymore? Could I ever look at him the same way again? When Mark came home that evening, the tension in the house was almost unbearable. He greeted me with his usual smile, but there was something off in his eyes, something I couldn't quite place. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. I couldn't. The weight of the discovery hung over me like a dark cloud, and I needed to address it, even if I wasn't sure I was ready to hear the truth. "Mark," I said, my voice tight with suppressed emotion, "we need to talk." His face faltered for just a second, and then he nodded. "What's wrong?" His voice was calm, but there was a noticeable tension in it. "I found your emails," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I found the ones about the trip. The one to Paris, with Sophia Alvarez." He stiffened, and I could see the color drain from his face. He didn't say anything right away, and that silence was more than I could bear. The tension between us thickened with every passing second. "Why didn't you tell me about this, Mark?" I asked, my voice trembling now. "Why didn't you tell me about your visa, about the second passport? Why was there a whole itinerary for a trip that I wasn't involved in?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again, clearly searching for the right words. But none came. His eyes darted to the floor as if he couldn't bring himself to look at me. Sarah, he started, but then stopped, rubbing the back of his neck as if trying to find the courage to explain. "Tell me the truth, Mark," I said, my voice stronger now, more insistent. "Tell me why you've been hiding this from me. I deserve to know." He swallowed hard, and then let out a long breath. "I didn't mean to hide it, Sarah," he said, his voice shaking now. I didn't know how to tell you. I was planning on telling you before we left for the family trip, but I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to disrupt everything." I shook my head, feeling the anger rise in my chest. "You didn't want to hurt me? So instead, you've been lying to me. You've been planning a secret trip without telling me. How could you think that was okay? I never meant for it to get to this point," he said, his voice breaking. "It was supposed to be a business thing, Sarah. I've been working on something that requires me to travel, and I didn't want to burden you with it. I didn't want to make you think there was something going on that wasn't a business thing," I repeated, my voice sharp. "So this is just work, and you thought it would be better if I didn't know about it." He looked at me, his eyes filled with regret. "I should have told you, I know, but it's not what you think. I didn't want you to get upset. I thought I could handle it without bringing it up. But now I see how wrong I was. How long has this been going on?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "How long have you been hiding this from me? This isn't just a mistake, Mark. This isn't something you forgot to mention. This is something you've been actively keeping from me. How long have you been seeing Sophia? Why haven't you told me?" He ran his hands through his hair, his face full of frustration and shame. "It's not like that, Sarah. I swear. Sophia and I met through work. She's a colleague, nothing more. We've been working together on this project, and it required some international travel. I didn't think it was something you needed to know about. I didn't think it would matter. I didn't think it was a big deal." "Not a big deal," I repeated, my voice rising with disbelief. "Not a big deal that you've been planning secret trips. Not a big deal that you've been making plans without me, without my knowledge. How could you think this was nothing? How could you think I wouldn't be upset?" He looked at me with a mixture of guilt and sadness. "I never meant to hurt you. I thought it was something small. But I see now how much I've messed up. I see now how much I've hurt you. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But sorry wasn't enough. I wasn't sure if anything would be enough anymore. How could I look at him the same way after everything he had hidden from me? How could I trust him when he had been so deceptive, so secretive? "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Mark," I said quietly, my voice breaking. "I don't know if I can go back to how things were. I don't know if I can trust you again after this." He reached out to touch my hand, but I pulled it away. "Please, Sarah, don't walk away from me," he pleaded, his voice trembling. "I love you. I made a mistake, but I can fix it. I can prove to you that you can trust me again. Please, just give me a chance." I stared at him, torn between the love I still felt for him and the deep hurt that had taken root in my heart. Could I forgive him? Could we rebuild what had been broken? I didn't have the answers. I didn't know where to go from here. All I knew was that everything had changed, and I wasn't sure if I could ever go back to the way it was. I need time, Mark, I said, my voice steady but filled with sorrow. I need time to think about everything, to figure out if I can move forward with you. I don't know if I can, but I need time. He nodded slowly, understanding the weight of my words. I'll wait, he said quietly. I'll be here when you're ready. And as I walked away from him, my heart heavy with uncertainty, I realized that the road ahead was long, and I had no idea where it would lead. But I wasn't ready to give up on us just yet. I needed time. Time to heal, time to decide what I wanted, time to figure out if I could ever trust him again. The days that followed were agonizing, a blur of thoughts that seemed to spin in circles. I kept replaying that conversation in my mind, the look in Mark's eyes, the way his voice cracked. When he apologized, how he seemed so genuine in wanting to make it right. But behind all of that sincerity, I couldn't escape the one thing that had become so clear he had been hiding. Something monumental from me. And I wasn't sure how to get past that. I spent hours in the quiet of the house trying to organize my thoughts. The discovery of the second visa, the secret travel plans, the woman named Sophia, I couldn't shake it. Every time I thought about it, I felt the weight of betrayal. Mark had been hiding pieces of his life from me, and now everything felt shattered. How could I ever go back to the way things were? Could I ever trust him again? And more importantly, could I ever look at him without wondering what else he might be hiding? Mark respected my need for space, but the silence between us was deafening. He sent me texts, occasionally calling, but each time I heard his voice, I felt that familiar ache in my chest, the painful reminder that something had changed between us. I didn't know what I was feeling anymore. I didn't know if I was angry, hurt, or just plain confused. It wasn't just about the trip. It wasn't even about Sophia. It was about the fact that he had chosen not to tell me. The fact that he had kept this huge part of his life a secret for so long. He didn't trust me enough to share it with me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that if I hadn't found those emails, I would have never known. And that, more than anything, made me feel like I didn't know him at all. The next week, Mark called again. I could hear the desperation in his voice as he asked to meet up. I wanted to say no. I wanted to stay away from him, to avoid the conversations that would only hurt more. But there was something inside me that needed closure, that needed to know if we could salvage this or if we were beyond repair. When we met, I couldn't help but notice the way he seemed to be walking on eggshells around me. His posture was different, nervous, almost hesitant. He wasn't the confident man I had once known. He was a man who had been caught in a lie, and now he was trying to make things right, though I wasn't sure it was possible. "Sarah, please," he said as soon as I sat down, his voice low, almost pleading. "I know I've messed up. I know I've hurt you, and I don't blame you for being upset. But I need you to understand. This wasn't something I wanted to keep from you. I just didn't know how to tell you about it." I looked at him, my heart heavy. "How long were you going to keep it from me, Mark?" I asked, my voice tight. "How long were you planning to lie to me? And why was I the last person to know about your second passport, your second life?" He ran his hand through his hair, clearly struggling to find the right words. "I wasn't lying to you," he said, his voice filled with frustration. "I wasn't keeping things from you on purpose. I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I didn't tell you about Sophia and the trip, it wouldn't hurt you. I didn't want you to worry, Sarah. I didn't want you to think that something was going on that Wasn't. I shook my head, feeling a knot tighten in my chest. You don't get it, do you, Mark? I said, my voice rising slightly. You don't get that by keeping this from me. You've hurt me more than you'll ever know. You've been hiding something so big, and you thought I wouldn't find out? You thought I wouldn't be hurt. I didn't think it would be a big deal, he said quietly, his eyes dropping to the table. I didn't think. You'd need to know. I should have told you earlier. I should have been honest with you. I'm sorry. Sorry. I repeated, the word feeling empty. Sorry doesn't fix this, Mark. Sorry doesn't take away the fact that you've been lying to me. Sorry doesn't fix the trust you've broken. I know, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I know I can't take it back, but I want to prove to you that I can be the man you deserve. I want to prove that I'm still the person you fell in love with. Please give me a chance. Please don't give up on me. I sat there in silence for a long time, trying to gather my thoughts. The hurt, the anger, the confusion, it was all swirling inside me, and I didn't know how to untangle it. I loved him. I still loved him. But love wasn't enough, not when the foundation of everything we had built felt so fragile, so broken. I don't know if I can do this anymore, I said quietly, my voice shaking. I don't know if I can keep pretending like everything is okay. How do I trust you again, Mark? How do I move forward, knowing you've been hiding things from me? He reached across the table, his hand trembling as he touched mine. I don't expect you to trust me right away. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But I need you to understand that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I love you, Sarah. I don't want to lose you. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at him. I want to believe you, I whispered. I want to believe that you're still the man I married. But I don't know if I can get past this. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. Mark looked at me, his eyes full of desperation. I'll do anything to show you that I can change. I can't undo the past, Sarah, but I want to build a future with you. I want to fix this, if you'll let me. I need time, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I need time to figure out if I can move forward with you, if I can trust you again. He nodded slowly, his face filled with regret. Take all the time you need, he said quietly. I'll wait for you. I'll be here when you're ready. And with that, we sat there in silence, the weight of everything between us. I wasn't ready to make a decision. I wasn't ready to forgive him. But as I left the coffee shop that evening, I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't ready to give up yet. The next few days were filled with a growing sense of unease. I couldn't stop thinking about the conversation we had just had. Could I forgive Mark for what he had done? Could I ever trust him again? I didn't have the answers, and I wasn't sure I was ready to find them. I spent a lot of time thinking, and when I wasn't thinking, I was talking to Julie. She had been my sounding board through all of this. She listened without judgment, offering advice when I needed it, but never pushing me toward any particular decision. She understood the complexity of my emotions, the pain of the betrayal, and the deep love I still had for Mark. I can't just walk away, I told Julie one night as we sat in her kitchen, sipping wine. I still love him. But how do I rebuild trust after something like this? She set her glass down, looking at me with a kind, knowing expression. You don't have to have all the answers right now, Sarah. It's okay to take your time. But you also need to ask yourself if you're willing to fight for this relationship. Trust doesn't come back easily, but it can come back if you both want it. I want it, I whispered. I don't know if I can do it, but I want to try. Julie smiled gently. Then take your time, but don't let fear control you. Trust yourself first. Whatever you decide, make sure it's the choice that's best for you. Her words lingered with me for the rest of the night. I wasn't sure what the future held. I wasn't sure if Mark and I could make it through this. But one thing I knew was that I wasn't giving up. Yet, I had a lot to figure out, and it wasn't going to be easy. But maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward. I just needed to find the strength to take that first step. And that was the hardest part. It had been days since I last saw Mark, and though we had texted here and there, the weight of the silence between us had become unbearable. Every message he sent, every apology felt like a hollow echo of the man I used to know. And despite his attempts to explain himself, I still wasn't sure where we stood, or if there even was a we anymore. The doubts were suffocating, and no matter how much I wanted to believe in the man I loved, I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that something irreparable had shifted between us. I was sitting at the kitchen table when my phone buzzed. Mark. I hesitated before picking it up, my thumb hovering over the screen. Was I ready to hear what he had to say? Was I ready to face him and confront the growing rift that had formed between us? Or was I simply prolonging the inevitable? I opened the message, reading it in silence. Sarah, can we talk? I understand if you're not ready, but I can't keep going like this. I'm here when you're ready. I love you and I miss you. Please, just give me a chance. My heart clenched. I loved him. I missed him too. But could love survive this? Could the betrayal, the lies, the secrecy, could they ever be forgiven? Or was it already too late? I hadn't seen him in days, but I knew that the only way to figure out where I stood was to talk to him face to face. I needed clarity. I needed to hear him say the words, truthful, raw words, without the safety of texts or phone calls. I needed him to show me that he was truly committed to making things right. But what if he couldn't? What if the damage was already too deep? I took a deep breath, feeling my chest tighten with the decision ahead. I replied, Okay, meet me at the park. 5 p.m. He responded almost immediately, I'll be there. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a daze, pacing around the house, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. Could I do this? Could I confront him and listen to his explanations? Or was I simply setting myself up for more disappointment? I had no answers. I didn't know what I was hoping for: closure, forgiveness, understanding. All I knew was that I couldn't keep running from it. I had to face it head on. When I arrived at the park, I saw Mark standing near the old oak tree, hands in his pockets, his eyes searching for me. His usual confident posture was gone, replaced by a quiet uncertainty. I walked toward him, the heavy silence between us growing with every step. He smiled when he saw me, but it was weak, strained. He looked different, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. Hey, he said softly, his voice filled with relief. I'm glad you came. I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. Let's just talk, Mark. No more games. No more hiding. I need the truth. He exhaled deeply and ran a hand through his hair, clearly struggling with what to say. I know. I've hurt you. I know I've betrayed your trust, and I don't know if I can ever fix it. But I need you to know, Sarah, I never meant for any of this to happen. I never meant for you to find out this way. I folded my arms across my chest, trying to steady myself. So what was it, Mark? What was all of this second visa, the travel plans, the secrecy? Was I really just not supposed to know? Was I not worth including in your life? In our life? His face fell as he looked at the ground. I never wanted to shut you out. I never wanted to hurt you, he said quietly. The truth is, I didn't know how to explain it. The trip was for work, but it turned into something more. I got caught up in the excitement, in the idea of traveling and doing something for myself for once. And before I knew it, I had lied to you. I kept things from you. And I shouldn't have. I should have told you everything. I felt the anger bubbling up inside me. So it's all just work? I asked, trying to hold back the tears. You're telling me that all of this second passport, this secret life, you kept it from me because you thought it was just work. Is that it? He met my eyes, and I saw the regret there, the deep shame. It wasn't just that. I thought if I kept it from you, you wouldn't get upset. I thought if I didn't involve you, it would protect you. I never wanted to hurt you, Sarah. But you did, I whispered, the weight of it all crashing down on me. You hurt me by not telling me. You hurt me by not being honest with me. And that's what I don't understand. Why did you think I couldn't handle the truth? Mark stepped closer, his eyes filled with desperation. I didn't think that, Sarah. I didn't think it was the right time to bring it up. I didn't want to bring something like that into our life. But now I see how wrong I was. I see how much I've hurt you, and I don't know how to make it right. I felt the tears rising, but I try to keep them at bay. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Mark, I said, my voice breaking. I don't know if I can get past this. You've been lying to me for months. How do I move forward from that? I don't know, he said softly, his voice filled with pain. I don't know if I can fix it either. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Sarah. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I can be the man you deserve. I don't want to lose you. I shook my head, the weight of his words suffocating me. I don't know if you can fix this, Mark. I don't know if we can go back to how things were. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. Please, he whispered, his voice full of anguish. I'll do anything. Please don't give up on me. I looked at him, my heart aching with the knowledge that I still loved him. But the question remained, could I forgive him? Could I trust him again? I need time, I said softly. I need time to think about everything, to figure out what I want, what I need. He nodded slowly, his face filled with regret. Take all the time you need, Sarah. I'll wait. I'll wait. As long as it takes. The silence that followed was almost suffocating. I didn't know what the future held, and that was the hardest part. I wasn't ready to walk away from him, but I wasn't sure if I could ever move forward with him either. How could I rebuild something that had been broken so deeply? Mark left the park that evening with no answers, and neither did I. All I had was the uncertainty, the lingering hope that somehow things could be fixed. But deep down, I knew that this wasn't just about forgiving Mark. It was about forgiving myself for allowing myself to be in this position, for letting the man I trusted slip away from me. When I got home that night, I sat in the silence of our house. The questions kept coming. Was I making the right decision? Was I giving him too much space, too many chances? Or was I walking away from something worth saving? I didn't know. I didn't have the answers. But for the first time in weeks, I realized that I was finally being honest with myself. The future was uncertain, but I couldn't make decisions out of fear anymore. I had to trust myself before I could trust him again. Mark and I weren't done yet, but I wasn't sure what would happen next. I didn't know where we were headed, but I knew that this journey had only just begun, and only time would tell if we could rebuild, or if it was already too late.